Welcome, everyone. Really excited to be here. We're going to give people a minute to log on. I'm really excited to be here with Josh. Josh, and I'll make the joke again now that we're on the webinar here at San Quentin. Well, I'm in my kitchen.
Yeah, I look like I'm in a prison, but I'm excited to be here, drop some knowledge for you guys. You guys are in for a treat for this webinar. Finely tuned to call centers, right, Ruben?
Yeah, absolutely. Really excited. We've got a number of attendees.
Yeah.
I think we have a number of people logging on. I want to say it's close to 100 now, and I think we should move forward on getting started here. So as a moderator, we're going to be talking about call center strategies for 2021, how to chase the right leads and set more appointments. As a moderator, I want to thank everyone first for taking 30 minutes on this Thursday out of your really busy schedule, including Josh and the Hatch team. We're going to talk about call center strategies, techniques used by forward-thinking home service brands and companies who are focused in the home service space. So I myself, I'm the Director of Home Services and Clean Tech for ActiveProspect. We're a software solution based out of Austin, Texas that focuses on consent-based marketing for lead acquisition. I am joined by Josh Carter, and Josh, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Josh Carter, marketing manager here at Hatch. We're a messaging app for home improvement, home service, solar companies. And, really the insights that we're going to be sharing today is based upon data. Here at Hatch, we're a messaging app. We analyze millions of conversations every year, so we know what works in terms of getting appointments set and what doesn't work. And so as we talk through this webinar today, everything's going to be rooted in data. The templates we're going to be provided, rooted in data, what works. So thanks for hopping on, everybody. And I recognize we got folks from all different industries that joined the webinar today: roofers, solar companies, home services companies. So this webinar is going to be for you guys, especially if you have a call center. If you don't have a call center, that's okay. A lot of the stuff we're going to be sharing today is how you can just better manage those leads and make sure that they're qualified, and then making sure you're setting appointments with those leads. So welcome to the webinar, everybody. Thanks for having me, Ruben.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll add to that as we jump into our poll question, but defining call centers, don't think of a call center as being a massive building full of people, which I know normally people think of. A call center could be simply one person who's guiding the leads that are coming in for your team. So this is for teams that are out there who have 1 or 2 people who are setting appointments, all the way to those who are running 50. So first poll question: what percentage is your current appointment set rate? So the number of leads you're taking in, is it less than 10%? Is it between 10 and 20%? Are you doing really good and setting between 20 to 30% of your leads, or are you above 30%? So we want to always start and have this interactive, kick it off with a poll question to get a better understanding. And we're going to give you some time to fill that out. While you do that, a little housekeeping notes. I encourage everybody here on the webinar to take advantage of the chat box, ask questions throughout as we are monitoring, whether it's for myself or for Josh. We also have a quick Q&A at the end of the presentation, so please provide us feedback and be entered to win a drawing for a $50 gift card. Everyone at the end will be emailed a recording of this presentation to share with their respective teams. And so with that, why don't we go ahead and share some of the results from our audience. And Josh, what do you think? It looks like we're split down the middle between 10 and 20% and 20-30%, which is right there. That's fair. And I'll say from my experience running a call center historically, and this is specific to solar, which I know is fairly low, for over 5 years, we would have a set rate that was somewhere between 10 and 15% of all solar leads for 5 years running, and that was on hundreds of thousands of leads. So interesting to see that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by the numbers here today. 10 to 30% is pretty common for the industries that are represented on this call. I think the roofers on this call are going to see a higher appointment set rate because that type of sale is more of a need rather than a want from a consumer's perspective. So yeah, there's no wrong answer. Our goal here is to help you guys improve your appointment set rate.
Absolutely. And that kind of goes into the goal, right? What is our goal? Our goal is to help you set more appointments from the leads that you're purchasing. And an incremental change of 15 to 20% from where you're at today is hopefully the advantage and the margin you can gain by attending today's webinar and hopefully going through some of the things that we're going to talk about here.
Yeah, and Ruben, the crazy thing is that if you just improve that appointment set rate 15 to 20%, well, you're going to run 15 to 20% more appointments, and then you're going to sell 15 to 20% more jobs. So it all kind of trickles down in that entire funnel. So today we're going to be just focused on that part of the funnel, setting those appointments and making sure you're getting those qualified leads and that you're not wasting your time chasing leads that are honestly trash.
Absolutely, and I think that's a big piece, right? And so let's go over today's topics, right? So today's topics, we're going to ensure some of the steps that leads get before they're qualified, before they meet your call center, before you're touching them, before you're investing time in your cadence. We're going to go through the technology both on the ActiveProspect side as well as the Hatch side to discuss how you can beat your competitors to every new lead. I know, Josh, you and the Hatch team are going to be reviewing messaging and texting and ultimately how companies are setting more appointments at a faster rate using SMS. And then the multi-touch follow-up, right? The entire platform and connecting the entire funnel and how you can stay on top of mind for your new leads and your existing leads. So I'll kick it off and talk about ActiveProspect. We're the only platform for consent-based marketing, making consent-based marketing CBM the most scalable, efficient, and safest method for customer acquisition. This visual is really just showing you the basis of what we do, but essentially we're capturing leads from any source. You can filter and reject unqualified leads, and we'll get into what unqualified means and define that. You can enhance leads with any data service. We're an open API platform, so you can grab information from the World Wide Web, plug it into your lead flow to determine whether or not you want to buy specific leads. And then last but not least, we can deliver that data to any CRM, any endpoint, any homegrown system, and really from A to Z, we're supporting that lead flow. So Josh, tell us more about Hatch.
Yeah, Hatch, we are one of those endpoints, right? So we are a messaging app that enables you to text, email, call, all in one inbox. It's incredibly powerful. We connect up to your CRM, we connect up to your lead sources, including ActiveProspect, and that's why we're excited to have this partnership and this integration. And really the goal here is to help you guys A, set more appointments, and B, close more business. And so we really work throughout your entire sales process and after the sale to get those reviews and referrals and repeat business by leveraging SMS, email, as well as calling and cadence type structure where you can say, day one, I want to send a text after the appointment. Day three, I want to send an email. So we'll talk through some cadence and structure today that helps you guys set appointments. And these are things that you don't need Hatch for. These are just going to be templates that you can implement in your business. We make it super easy. You put it all on autopilot. But at the end of the day, guys, we're going to give you guys today in this webinar some helpful tips that you can bring to your business today. So I'm excited here. We've got a really awesome integration with ActiveProspect. Yeah, I mean, Ruben, it's super powerful here.
Yeah, and I'll mention, I think a lot of times if you're a business owner or you're a VP of marketing, you're in charge of that tech stack, and a lot of times a lot of marketing managers are like, I just need to buy more leads. If I can just get more leads, and if I could just call more. And that's really the old school process of buying data, buying leads, calling them, and then whatever comes out the other end is the result. Well, now with technology and it being 2021, you have the ability to implement a solid tech stack. And this visual that we're showing, it's not just for third-party lead vendors. It's not for first-party leads that are just getting on your website. It's for the whole scope. And I know as home service contractors, a lot of you are focused on field marketing, which you can see. And I know, Josh, you guys have an integration as well with Sales Rabbit. It also has to do with referrals. Shout out to Get the Referral and the referral platform. It's really made for all the sources and channels that are applicable at the top of the funnel, along with the digital leads that you're getting from third parties and your own website. So let's go into the common call center challenges. Obviously reps, you're investing a lot of money on the media, reps chasing unqualified leads, slow to get new leads, obviously not having the ability of speed to lead, especially with third-party leads or multi-sell leads who are going to 1 or 2, 3, maybe even 4 different providers or contractors. Not following up. I don't know how many times I filled out a web form and gotten one call one time and never been called again by a service provider. So not following up with leads that don't respond. And I think a big piece is the reporting. I think this is so fundamental, and there's so many marketing teams and brands that I work with or we work with who don't have the proper reporting between the number of leads that are coming in on the front end and being able to tie it in to the conversions, and then be able to look at that data in real time. If you're a contractor or if you're a marketing manager and it takes you an hour or even a day to get a report from your team, that's a big gap, and that's something that we can talk about. But those are some of the common challenges. Josh, would you agree?
Yeah, having that feedback loop is absolutely critical. I think a lot of folks, they just look at 2 numbers. They look at the amount of leads that came in and how many appointments were set and then how many sales. So I guess 3 numbers. But if you're not breaking that out by source, if you're not breaking it out by time to get to the lead, all these different metrics that you can slice and dice the deal with, you're not really going to improve as a call center. And again, like Ruben mentioned earlier, whether your call center is 1 or 2 people sitting in a back room at your office, or it's 30, 60, 90 folks sitting in a giant room there for the call center, I guess virtually, it's important to have good data. And these are problems that I see across every single industry that has call centers. It doesn't have to be just home improvement, home services. It's all about speed, guys. You got to be first, and you got to make sure you're going after the right leads.
And I'll add in before we go into the next slide regarding reporting. I think it's a big fallacy for companies who are purchasing leads. If you're trusting somebody to send you leads I know home service leads are like $35, $80, $100 plus. If you're trusting somebody to send you that data, you need to have the ability to trust them to send them the disposition feedback. Whether you're a lead vendor, whether it's one of your partners, sharing that disposition data is critical to growing and to ultimately getting to a level of sophistication where it's transparent between where you're buying the data, where you're buying your leads, and what you're doing in your call center. And so on that note, talking about unqualified leads. So here at ActiveProspect, we're a technology platform, SaaS-based solution. We're in a number of different verticals, not just home services, a lot of other very mature verticals such as consumer finance, education, consumer packaged goods. And across all those verticals, including home services, we see about 1 in 5 or 20% of the leads, third-party leads, are leads that are unqualified. A lot of these can be, one of the big reasons is they're duplicates, right? You already bought the lead, but a lot of them have to do with bad or inaccurate data. I know myself, when I fill out a web form and I want to figure out how to get to the next page, I'm always putting in like the wrong last digit of my phone number just so I can get to that next page. It's very common for homeowners to do that. It's not that the lead vendor is selling you a bad lead. It's, this is the interactions that consumers have. Detecting fraud, imagine that, right? The World Wide Web, wow, they're being fraud. It does happen. It is part of the business. Being able to detect it is key. And then only contacting TCPA compliant leads that have a valid opt-in. This is a huge piece. If you don't know what TCPA is, it stands for the Telephone Communication Privacy Act. It's what governs the ability for you to use our technology as well as Josh's technology. And it's hypercritical to be able to get that consent or that express written consent so that you abide by the laws of our land. So, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about unqualified leads. So let's kind of go into the next slide. What is an unqualified lead and how do you, filter out? Now, we just talked about some of those reasons for unqualified, whether it's duplicates, bad phone numbers. Here at ActiveProspect, we're considered a lead management technology. We're a protective layer in between your sources of marketing as well as your CRM. So we sit right there in the middle as a protective layer. In this instance, what we're showing you is with 3 fields that you normally get with every lead, or at least I hope you're getting this when you're paying for a lead, you can essentially in real time, milliseconds, do multiple API checks with multiple service providers. So in this instance, you're doing a home value lookup from CoreLogic potentially. You're running an API check with Experian to get a credit score based off the ZIP +4 that also comes with a credit grade. You're then running it through multiple or several email verification tools that we have available in our marketplace. One big one that's critical is phone enhancement, right? You're paying for a phone number that you're going to call. Probably want to make sure it's an active phone number and for the right person, in this instance, John Stevens. Based off of the phone number, you can extrapolate or do a reverse phone lookup and grab some demographic data such as the age, the gender. You can do, append the address potentially based on the carrier information. But ultimately, you want to know that that phone number is good and it's something that you want to put in your dialer and call and use a cadence on. Now, suppression list is essentially meant for querying a list, which essentially can be, you know, do I already have this lead in the last 30 days and do I want to buy it? Yes or no? Is it a current customer of mine? A lot of times, you know, people come in through marketing channels, but they're a current customer looking for customer service. So being able in real time to route that gives that great customer experience. You know, is it a current customer, past customer? You know, moving on to the top right, and this is for you solar installers that are on there, are on here on the call. We have an integration with the National Renewable Energy Lab where you can append the utility based off the zip code, which comes in very helpful when you're talking to homeowners on the phone, in your call center. And then Trusted Forum, which we consider the golden ticket for TCPA. It's essentially the gold standard for TCPA. It gives you proof of opt-in. It gives you the ability to look at a video replay of where that consumer opted in to make sure that that lead is for the service you're providing. And then, you know, talking about some of the analytics that are going into today's, you know, lead scoring or call cadence, a lot of brands are starting to use the metadata. And if you've never heard that before, you know, you're hearing it here. Metadata is essentially the information for the consumer when they're opting in. And that could be the browser they're using, the operating system they're using, their IP address, and the geo of their IP. Being able to detect this information and utilize this in your lead purchasing is how you can get to the next level. And a lot of clients that we have, some of the larger brands out there, they're not only using the things that we're showing you here, but some of the other pieces that are available are typing speed or words per minute, or whether somebody form filled or tabbed through rather than entered it in. These are all things that you can essentially utilize and tie to your sales so that you know, is a sale more likely to happen when someone's using an iPhone or when they're using a PC? So these are things that on the qualification side here at ActiveProspect, we can detect in real time to make sure that the leads that you're purchasing are qualified. Make sense, Josh?
It does, and I kind of have a question on that, Ruben. So, as somebody that's purchasing leads, I'm sure most of the contractors here are purchasing leads in some way, shape, or form, and we'll use like maybe Home Advisor or Modernize. What's the process like to reject a lead? How do you provide that feedback back to the lead vendor to make sure that you're only getting the good ones?
Yes, great question. So there is a real-time response from our system. So when a lead comes in, say it's a duplicate, there is going to be a response back to that lead vendor that says accepted or rejected. And if it's a rejected lead, there is going to be a response that goes back. I do want to make note for all those providers out there, for all those buyers, please communicate with your lead vendors, Home Advisor, QuinStreet, Clean Energy Experts. Everybody has different rules of engagement. And it's very important that you communicate with your account manager on what those rules are so that you don't blanket rejections for everyone. And to that point, I also feel that rejections are not necessarily needed with some of the better quality sources that are out there. But certainly, if you're engaging with 10, 20, 30 different sources, which a lot of companies are, you definitely need to have the ability to underwrite and to ultimately reject in real time, which is a key differential here is rejecting rather than returning. Rejecting is blocking at the time of submission, so it never makes it to your CRM. A return is a lead that you've accepted into your CRM, you've dialed it, you've done something to figure it out, and now you're returning it, which is a common practice in lead generation.
So
you got a qualified lead. Let's talk. This is on your side, Josh. Let's talk about this.
Yeah. So Ruben, thanks for the context and the insight into how to actually determine what is qualified. And then we talked about earlier the whole reporting, the feedback loop. As you go through the process of buying leads and getting leads from all these different sources, make sure you're understanding what your set rate is for each of those sources, and then how many you're actually closing from each of those sources. So that way you can go back and see, where do I need to invest cash in 2021. Right. And you can do that. You can look back in your CRM right now, guys, like historical data. If you've got it broken out by lead source, go ahead and run those reports. Figure out what's been working for you in terms of appointments that you're setting and running and closing, and then go from there. But once you do have a qualified lead, it's important that you get to them fast. One of the big challenges that call centers have is not necessarily getting to the lead first, because they typically have dialing solutions in place to immediately get after the lead, but it's that continual follow-up if the lead doesn't respond the first time. And I don't need to tell you these next stats, but we'll go through these because you guys all know you're 7 times more likely to set an appointment if you respond to a new lead in 1 hour versus 2 hours. So it's important you have some sort of a strategy in place to go after leads, not just when your call center is within business hours, but also after business hours, which is why I'm going to talk through in a bit why texting is so important for your business. You're 21 more times likely to close a deal if you respond in less than 5 minutes. Again, guys, speed is everything. If you aren't first, you're last.
Yeah, I don't know how many times, once you get somebody on the phone, you start having a conversation, you have all these other people kind of calling in after, they're not going to get a hold. They're going to get a busy signal or whatnot. And speed to lead is crucial. I mean, there's so many stats out there from some of the big dialers out there, including Convoso and Five9 and whatnot, that just show speed to lead and the ability to contact someone when the lead comes in, potentially while they're still there at their computer, thinking about windows or, man, I got a leaky roof, and oh wow, you just called me and I was just on here. So that's crucial. I completely agree there.
So what do you guys do?
Let's jump into the poll question in terms of when you get a new lead, and I know a lot of people are going to select call, but I'm curious from the attendees that are on here, how many are texting, emailing, and calling? And feel free to select the ones that you're doing, whether it's one or all of them. We're definitely curious to see how many are actually implementing an omni-channel strategy here.
Yeah, and Ruben, we were talking earlier about folks purchasing leads. I mean, talking to these lead vendors, they're selling that lead to 2, 3, sometimes 4 or 5 other contractors at a given time. So if you are not the first person to go after that modernized lead or that home advisor lead, you might lose it. So it's important that you have tools and technology in place to go after those leads as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I know you're going to get into the messaging center. Well, let's talk about the poll results. It looks like, obviously, I hope 86% of people are calling. It looks like right behind is email, which that makes sense, and then SMS. Very, very, very uncommon to see everybody doing all 3, but it looks like some out there are. So good to know.
So I want to sort of transform the way you guys are thinking about your call center. It is incredibly impactful to incorporate text messaging as part of your lead follow-up strategy. I can't stress this enough. This is literally why my company exists. We planted our flag in text automation for home improvement, home services, solar companies. And then we started layering in email and phone calls as well. But texting has really been the core of the success our contractors see And if you can automate that as soon as a lead comes in, it's incredibly impactful. And the stat right here from Modernize, and this is old data, the number's actually gone up. More than 50% of homeowners prefer to communicate with their contractor via text message. So you guys are using dialers. That's fantastic. You're calling out. But what's your connect rate? Take a look at that. If we go to the next slide, we can actually see some interesting stats about why texting is actually important.
Yeah.
So call center folks, you know this. 97% of consumers will ignore calls from unknown numbers. Even if you plastered it on your website, they're still not going to recognize it. And I personally use a service called RoboKiller. It basically asks and screens calls before they come in if they're from an unknown number. And a lot of people use services like that. And now carriers are starting to use services like that. So if you can cut through the noise there and interject with a text message, you're going to be incredibly effective here. The next stat is 98% of texts are open, and what's incredible is 95% of texts are read within 3 minutes. Ruben, I don't know about you, man, but like my phone buzzes even during a webinar. I'm probably going to open that text message.
I literally have to turn off my phone not to answer my phone or look at my phone. So I'm part of the scroll, death scroll as they call it.
Yeah, it's funny. The stat recently came out that the highest percentage of new home buyers are millennials, which we know spend on average 3.5 hours or more on their phone every single day. But the crazy thing here, guys, is the house that they're purchasing, these millennials, is on average built in 1970. Okay, so they're going to need jobs done. They're going to need remodeling work done. They're going to need that roof replaced. And this generation, millennials, like, we're not DIYers. Let's just be honest here. Majority of millennials are not DIYers, so they're going to need work done. And so if you cut through the noise and go to where they are, which is their cell phone, which is texting, you're going to set more appointments. And if you go to the next slide, we proved that out with a cooler franchise here. They sell cooler tubs and baths and such. And what's interesting is they have a call center in Nashville with 14 reps. And what they were doing is all their web leads, they were buying leads from Modernize, Quinn Street Home Advisor, Angie's List, and as well as their own website with advertising and stuff like that through Facebook. They were pushing all those leads, requiring a phone number and connecting it to a dialer, and they were getting a very low connect rate. And we started working with them and incorporating text as part of that new lead follow-up, as well as email and a voicemail. And that's a key difference here, a voicemail. This wasn't an outbound phone call through a dialer. This was what we call a ringless voicemail. So if you combine all three, text, email, voicemail, you're going to be incredibly effective. And we're able to connect them with those new leads from all those sources in less than 5 seconds. And then as soon as somebody responds, the call center reps can just handle that conversation. The results speak for themselves, guys. The close rate from their web leads improved 45%. So guys, like, whatever you do, whatever technology you implement, make sure you're going after leads fast. Make sure you're texting those leads, emailing those leads, leaving voicemails with those leads.
Talk about that on that next slide. I know the next slide has, like the touch points, and I know sometimes people are just using one touch point. Tell me about the optimal touch point that you have here on this slide, Josh.
Yeah, so I find it to be very effective based upon what we've seen with contractors, and what's been working is when a new lead comes in, you're texting, emailing, and giving that lead a phone call or dropping a voicemail for that lead. And then on the next touch, which is touch 2, on the second day, you bump it with a text. And I'm going to show you guys a template in a second here. And then day 4, you skip a day, give the person time to sort of think it over. Maybe they're talking with their husband or wife. Introduce some sort of special offer. We see like a time decay offer to be pretty effective that says, something along the lines of, hey, we're heading into the busy season. Please, take a look at this offer we have. If you can get your roof installed by the end of the month, something like that. Introduce some sort of offer that might entice people to respond, because if they haven't responded already, you got to figure out a way to get them to respond. Then
Absolutely.
Day 7, skip a couple days, and I call this the Hail Mary. This is like, hey, are you even looking to replace your roof, or were you just looking around? I consider that to be the final touch point. We also call it the breakup text, but whatever way you want to look at it, guys. It's not just
day
being
7. I mean, they've probably been, especially on a multi-cell lead, right? Like, they've been called numerous times, and you got bombarded by different offers.
Yeah, and Ruben, we're working with one of the largest solar companies here in the US that's a shared ActiveProspect customer, and
Yep.
they're using ActiveProspect for all their new leads, and they're filtering those leads out, qualifying them in ActiveProspect, and then shipping those over to Hatch. And
Yes.
I'm looking through their data. They're setting appointments. Most of their appointments are being set after the second and third touch point, not the first touch point. So it's one thing for your call center to be going after these leads crazy, crazy fast. That's fantastic. But if you're not following up with those leads and setting reminders and setting and establishing accountability and ownership to that follow-up, then you're going to fail. So follow-up is everything. And this is an example of the first text that goes out, just the view of the homeowner. Text, email, voicemail comes in instantly as soon as a new lead comes in. And the next section of this presentation is going to talk through some templates that you guys can use when a new lead comes in. Feel free to take a screenshot. We'll also send this after the webinar. So if we go to the next slide, Drea, we can talk through some of these templates that when a new lead comes in, what you do with it. So this is the first text. Hey, Matt, this is Josh from ABC Contracting. I see here that you're looking to replace your roof. You have a few minutes to chat. If you don't get a response, again, we want to follow up. Happy to provide a free quote virtually or in person. Which would you prefer? Virtual appointments have been incredibly popular. So you want to provide that option. If you aren't doing virtual in your business, I encourage you to go to usehatchup.com, check out our blog, and see some tips on how to actually run these virtual appointments. And then this is the special offer text that I mentioned earlier. Still looking to replace your roof. Since we're about to head into the busy season, I'm authorized to provide a 15% discount if we can replace your roof by the end of the month. And another way to do this is, hey, pricing is going to increase because we're going to be busier, higher demand. You might take longer to get your job done. You can do any number of those things to try to incentivize a response here.
And do you guys have the ability, I've noticed that more and more on the SMS, and maybe you're going to show this, is photos, using photos, and home service providers using images?
Yeah, exactly. This is an example of that. You're building that follow-up campaign in Hatch. You can drop an image of a roof. We see it to be pretty effective if you include a job that was recently completed nearby as part of your follow-up. So in this example, if we go to the next slide, the second text that we sent out about happy to provide a free quote virtually in person, this is again the second text that goes out. The first text is you to try to get on the phone with them, schedule the appointment. But if you don't get a response the first time, introduce something like a beautiful shingle roof you just installed, or we just installed panels down the street. Here's a picture. Something that gets somebody to get excited and have some familiarity. So this is an example of a Richmond roofing contractor that said, hey, happy to provide a free quote virtually or in person. Which would you prefer? Here's a beautiful shingle roof we just installed on Main Street. So incorporating pictures with your text is pretty effective, Ruben.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now going on, Josh, this is, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, so what we're looking at here is the Hatch inbox. And I wanted to highlight this because we talked about earlier, Ruben, the additional data that you can receive on the lead when it passes through an ActiveProspect. So on the bottom right-hand side, you can see here that it came from ActiveProspect. The home value is a little over 420K. Credit score is 752. They're married, so likely this is going to be a joint decision, right? So as a sales rep, you got to incorporate the spouse. Age range is 35 to 44. So this helps your rep have those conversations and help them sell better because they're going to be able to have all that enriched data that ActiveProspect provides.
And that ties into this case study from All Season Solar. Shout out to one of our super users, Precious Perez, who runs the lead purchasing for All Season Solar, which is based out of New Jersey. And they had never used lead management technology. They've been on our technology for about 2 years now. And she was able to lower their cost of acquisition by 20%, 25%. So go from $2,000 to $1,500, setting the same amount of appointments that they were when they were spending at that 2K mark. And because they were focused and their call center team was focused on higher quality leads and not necessarily having to dial through the other 25% that were historically unqualified, they were able to have better conversations. They were able to spend longer time with each homeowner, and thus because they were having genuine conversations and were making a connection at the call center level, which is critical. When their sales team would go to the kitchen table, there was a slight uptick in the sale rate, simply because the appointment setter, who I believe is by far the most important person in a home service business, they're able to make that connection, use some of the information demographic data to create that talking point, or that vibe, if you will, with that homeowner. So shout out to All Season Solar and their case study and being able to lower their cost of acquisition while increasing their sale rate. So to kind of wrap it up, we showed this before, but once again, utilizing a full tech stack with our lead management software, with the messaging platform, we do have an integration with Hatch that you can copy and paste, drag and drop, and be able to deliver qualified leads from any of these sources here to Hatch simultaneously to your CRM. And it's not just for digital leads, it's field marketing, referrals, maybe direct inbound mail leads that you're getting. So to kind of conclusion, best practices, be first to the leads, speed to leads, critical, along with the things that we talked about with Josh. Documenting consent for TCPA, aka the golden ticket, being able to purchase leads and outbound them accordingly using automated dialers or SMS messaging platform technology. Using integrations. The World Wide Web is full of phenomenal data APIs. Using those integrations to connect your lead flows with other applicable services, whether it's title verification, phone or email validation, or credit scores from Experian. And to Josh's point and all those great slides, don't forget to follow up. If you don't get a response in the morning, have a system where you're calling in the afternoon. If you don't get a response via phone, try an email, try an SMS. And this omni-channel approach, this is the way to communicate, especially when you're investing all this money on home service leads. Anything to add there, Josh?
No, 100%. You were talking about, Ruben, the value of integrations. It's important to have that single source of the truth, guys. I was just talking to a contractor today who's using all these different disparate platforms for each use case. He's using like one platform for texting, one dialer for dialing. He's using a CRM. He's using a marketing tool. The more that you can centralize your workflow, this is what I love about ActiveProspect. Just to brag about ActiveProspect is they can connect up to everything that you guys are doing from a lead standpoint and just act as like the gatekeeper in the funnel. And so Hatch customers using ActiveProspect are seeing an incredible amount of success, guys. Yeah, so absolutely. If anything that you can do to just funnel those leads and keep a centralized place, and that's why we love working with you guys. And with Hatch, we're one platform to do all your text, email, call, automation, all that stuff. And we talk to the CRM to send all that information back about the conversation that was had. So really
it seems like common sense, but if you're going to invest money into a lead, you might as well call it, text it, and email it, and do all you can to convert it. And I know we ran a little bit over. We really appreciate the audience. Last minute reminder, I want to thank our audience and remind all the attendees to stay on to answer a quick questionnaire. We really appreciate your feedback. I know our team and the Hatch team put a lot of effort in presenting this information. And we don't have a lot of time for questions, but we do have a question from John, and he is asking, is a dialer considered a lead management tool? And I'll go ahead and take that one. A dialer is not necessarily considered a lead management tool, even though I know a lot of dialers have some type of CRM capability. A lead management tool is essentially going to be in front of your dialer or in front of your CRM before you're capturing that lead. And so essentially lead management tool, which is what ActiveProspect is, sits before your dialer and essentially allows you to underwrite and pre-qualify those leads. Once you've decided that you want to invest in that lead, it can then pass into your CRM or your dialer. So great question, John. And with that, I'll kind of close it out. I appreciate you, Josh, and the Hatch team. I had a blast. So thank you so much for taking time, and I appreciate all the attendees. If you need anything from us, we're here.